Well, we have been longtime users of Line 6 gear and love all the early generations of the pod, but the new HD sounds so much better.
We were in Butch's studio and the latest prototype came in, and we immediately set it up and started checking it out. We were thinking, it sounds pretty good. We started using it that day, and a lot of that's on the record.
We recorded the record sort of guerrilla style. I mean, Billy's studio is the main studio where we did most of the recording and all the mixing, but I did recording at my home. I did drums, I did a lot of guitar parts there. I played some guitar on the record. Duke did guitar parts there, and both Duke and Steve have pods. And Duke has a little home studio, but he did a lot of, still at my studio in Madison at Smart, and Steve would work at home. And that's what we would do, is we would bring our drives in or just send them to Billy, and then he would get everything into the main mix that we were working on in his studio. And
I live in Colorado. I'd go home, and there's stuff that I did just by myself there on a pod. I'd email it to these guys, and it actually made it on the record.
The tonal qualities, even the subtle things, you hear much clearer and much better. And it's particularly important for a band like Garbage because we have a lot of different guitar sounds on the record and also live. And sometimes we stack things and layer them. Sometimes they're very fuzzy and saturated, sometimes they're more affected out. But we use the new HD pod on a lot of the songs on the new Garbage album. One of the great things about me using the HD pod is it's very fast and intuitive, especially if you use the laptop to dial on the presets and tweak things. And when you want to get a part down and play the part, you don't want to get slowed down by any technical hoo-ha. You know, you want to plug in and go. And we do experiment a lot in Garbage, and both Duke and Steve like to. I mean, there's a lot of sort of traditional guitar sounds on the record, but there's a lot of weird guitars. Sometimes they don't even sound like a guitar anymore. I think that's one of the things that both of them love to do, and I think that's going to be great with the new Variax.
When it first showed up, like when Kevin told me about it, I was like, well, you know, we've tried them and they're cool, and they kind of help us really solve a couple of problems. But if it's not going to be something that's going to be fun to play, you know, it's never going to really fly for us. And when it showed up, I was like, wow, this is actually a pretty awesome instrument.
I have a feeling that Duke and Steve, particularly Steve, will start coming up with some crazy guitar riffs because of what he can do with the new tuning, you know, how you can really manipulate it. Yeah, I mean, some of the songs on the album, Battle in Me in particular, has these crazy, like almost flatline brick wall what we call stun guitars. And we spent a lot of time at my home studio working on them, particularly in the chorus. And the great thing is we can just bring that effect to the live situation, and it translates the same going through a PA as it does, you know, going into the mix on the album.
There are no amps on stage. It's all pods. First tour, we took out real amps and we had cabinets and road cases, and it's just a lot more trouble, and it seems to sound better this way.
Because the stage, as you can see, is totally clean. There's no bleed into the vocal mic. The only live mic is these behind us and the drums, and they're kind of shielded off here, and Shirley's mic.
Without having to put a microphone and deal with the acoustics of a stage and everything, I mean, it's consistently excellent every night. And particularly, we found this out on the last tour when we go and play a lot of the big European festivals, you don't get a sound check. And so we just roll in and plug in. It sounds the same as it did in a club or wherever we were yesterday, and you come on stage and you know as soon as you play the first song, it sounds exactly the same. And that's a good thing, and that consistency, I think, helps both our monitor guy and also the front of house guy. It helped really at some of the big shows. It's a lifesaver, you know, just to have the sound come through perfectly the same every night.
I think both Duke and Steve appreciate the fact that they know the consistency is going to be there every night, that the sound that they're looking for is going to be there every night. It's not going to change. And it's also helpful for everybody else in the bands, you know, knowing that there's not going to be wild fluctuations in volumes, wild fluctuations in tones or sounds. It's going to be exactly what you're expecting to hear from time to time. So.
We've been in here about 3 weeks now, and every day I'm on your editing software. We keep it open even when we're rehearsing. So if one section of a song is a little too loud or needs to be fuzzier or darker or whatever, you can just tweak it on your laptop right there, hit save, and or the sound guy will say, you know, that one section could come up 2 dB or whatever. And so we're using that constantly, and it's been really cool.
Being able to control and really intricately control every element of every one of the sounds throughout the song is really key to making it sound correct, you know, at the front of house desk. So being able to dial things in every day as we're going in further and further, and have it be repeatable. You know, it's like when you make an adjustment, you know that the next time you come back to it, it's going to be the same. There's no fluctuations like you would with going to a different amp. You know, if you're going to go to a clean sound and it was a different clean amp, that amp's going to sound different from day to day. This sounds the same every single day.
A lot of the songs have a lot of different sounds from section to section, and really you can't really do that with one guitar and an amp and a microphone.
Well, there's one song in particular that I use the Variax on, is a song called Special, and it opens with a 12-string figure that begins the whole song and is revisited throughout the song, and we use the 12-string sound. I use the 12-string sound of the Variax, and then just for that little moment at the top, and then switch to another sound.
It helps solve a lot of the tuning issues that we've had in the past. You know, there's certain situations where, you know, we've used a Rickenbacker 12-string, and having one of those out on tour and have it be in tune and intonated correctly every night outdoors is next to impossible.
It's a nightmare.
It's amazing that you can change the tuning setup on the guitar with just pushing a button. I don't know how that works, but we use it a lot because there's a lot of tuning changes.
You know, there are a lot of alternate tunings that we use, and in the past we've had to have, you know, a dozen guitars specifically for all these different tunings in order to make sure that they would be in tune and intonated from night to night. So we've just started integrating the James Tyler into the situation, and I'm really happy about how it does the 12-string sound really well, and how it's helping us to be able to do all the alternate tunings on the fly. Not only do they allow us to solve those problems, but they're actually really well-made guitars. They play great, they feel great, and as a guitar, it's a pretty excellent instrument.
When I first started working on stuff, one of the sounds that they really like is sort of punchy, distorted, MPEG-y, that kind of sound, whatever. And then going from that into a fully distorted sound. And so I was initially bringing in just like this pedal, that pedal. I was calling friends. What distortion pedal do you use? That thing, right? And so there was a parade of distortion pedals moved through here. But we eventually just wound up going, none of these are beating the pod. What we're doing this time is Billy's automating it all through Ableton. So that's how we're going to do it. But I also said to them that I thought that because of the fact that there are so many changes going on with them, that I thought that it might be better for the bass to have just like, I think we came up with sort of 4 basic presets.
Let me get this straight, Eric. You're saying that you've only got 4 sounds, and you don't have to step on your own pedals to change these sounds?
Yeah.
Dude.
I'm working on not even having to show up next
You got the easiest gig on this tour.
That's true.
Do they make you set up the drums or anything to compensate?
Well, I cater, but...